Well, okay, folks, it is Friday, January 10th, 2025. Welcome to the new year. Things going smoothly so far. I'm in California. This is David Parsons, by the way. Justin Rogers Cooper is all the way across the United States in New Jersey, both experiencing different versions of climate warming in its own way, I guess. But, I want to start with the fires. Hi, Justin, by the way. How are you? Good to see you.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, it's been a doozy of a week. I'm getting over COVID, so I might sound a little congested or lethargic, or maybe, it's amplified my typical brain fog. So
Yeah. Well,
let the
maybe
let the listener decide.
maybe that's part of the brain thing I wanted to discuss, that everyone's fucking crazy now because one quote that has been popping out to me about the fires in Los Angeles. So I'm in California. I'm in Ventura, California. For those that don't know, that's about 40 miles north of LA. So we see like a little bit of the haze of the smoke in the air, but we haven't been affected by the fires in Los Angeles this time. Although in 2017, the Thomas Fire ripped through this town and caused billions of dollars in damage and scarred all of us emotionally over what it was like to wake up in the middle of the night with the entire town on fire and have to evacuate. And I won't rehash all of those details, but one thing that I wanted to sort of react to is the reactions themselves online and elsewhere, because it's been intense to watch people try to like frame the fires into their own sort of like personal political orientation, and I can't help but feel it's a symptom of and a sign of things to come. So one of the quotes that's been popped around a lot on social media that I've seen, and I think we've actually shared this quote before because it's great, and in a lot of ways it's an updating of the revolution will not be televised quote. But this quote I saw a lot this week. It says, "Climate change will manifest as a series of disasters viewed through phones, with footage that gets closer and closer to where you live until you're the one filming it." And I thought that was really interesting and, clearly terrifying. And I have friends actually who I'm like, I see the stuff they're sharing on social media and that's of their backyards on fire and things like that. So it seems apt. But the other part of it, and I would add like a caveat or maybe an addition to that, is that climate change is something that we're going to experience while a population that has had its brains melted by social media tries to make sense of it through these really ugly categories. And what I'm talking about is the fact that like MAGA's reaction to the fires has basically been like, fuck you communists in California, don't live there, maybe don't vote for communists, maybe don't be like big gay weirdos. The other half of it is like the like left that is basically like saying this is karma for Gaza, or like it's just a bunch of rich capitalists burning their houses. Who gives a fuck? Like, in other words, there's just this sort of like real like obvious intense need to express something pithy, but also I don't know. There's a real disturbing lack of empathy at all for the people going through this shit. Instead, it's just like it's just something I place into my predetermined category of what's going on. And that part of it is honestly pretty fucking scary.
Here in Jersey, we had a drought that started in August or so, and we're still technically in like drought conditions, even though it's been raining and snowing all winter long, at least since December. But you might remember there was a fire here over in Bergen County, closer to the Hudson River, and it was concerning a little bit. It was like a kind of a regional story before the drones took over and then went away, and it was
I
disturbing
forgot
to
about
me.
the drones. Wow.
Yeah, it's like you're walking out on your lawn and everything's dry and crackly, and then you have the fire coming around, and there were sporadic brush fires even in our township here. So I'm not setting that on the scale of what's going on in California, but I am saying that quote you started off with was a little bit hitting home to me, or the quote that we found online that circulates about the the disasters like coming coming in until you're the one filming it. And so I was kind of feeling things from that perspective a little bit when I was reading some of these news stories, and then obviously when I was watching some of these social media clips, and then actually, unfortunately, getting down into the comments and sort of reading and seeing a little bit of what you're saying. And I sign on to kind of what you just observed, and it reminds me of our conversation a few days ago, where you told me it's a lot like the conversation that came out of our doppelganger talk, our show with Naomi Klein. That I think, if I'm remembering correctly, one of her large claims in that book is that as we fall into these digital rabbit holes, um, we have this othering that's taking place within ourselves so that we become kind of othered into ourselves, that the digital self, this avatar we create, starts to become this kind of central driver of our personality, over our beliefs, of our values, but also that part of ourselves that is now like this alienated algorithmic drive that's now kind of in charge, is also one that feeds off of not just like the clout chasing you're describing and like the need to perform for like your community, and the fact that so many people see themselves as like influencers, and to another degree like 4chan style black humor arsonists online.
Yeah.
That the whole thing is about performing for like this base of people who share your values, but that performance and that chasing and that need and that desire necessitates the production of enemies, and it necessitates the production of like this cartoonish rabbit hole world where you kind of start to make fun of mass death. And so one of the ironies that I would just point to early here, and I think there's a lot to say about this phenomenon that we can get to today,